HPI is on the move.
Drones. These aerial robots are replacing manned planes. They're revolutionizing warfare by allowing us to see and kill from half a world away. And they're making science fiction a reality. Now, with unprecedented access to drone scientists, engineers, and pilots.
Master Arm.
Nova reveals the technologies that make drones so powerful and the breakthroughs that are leading us into the future. Will drones soon replace even the most sophisticated manned planes and become a part of our everyday lives?
It started out as a toy for my dogs to chase.
The worry is that we'll have 30,000 drones crisscrossing the sky, accumulating all this information.
They generate opposition both overseas and at home.
I speak out on behalf of the rule of law.
Now, enter a new chapter in aviation history as Nova takes you inside the rise of the drones.
3, 2, 1.
Major funding for NOVA is provided by the following. The David H. Koch Fund for Science, supporting NOVA and promoting public understanding of science. And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. Additional funding from Lockheed Martin, inspiring tomorrow's engineers and technologists. And Millicent Bell, through the Millicent and Eugene Bell Foundation.
This is the ultimate melding of man and machine. The U.S. has more than 2,300 manned fighter planes.
Tiger 2, Dark Star pictures.
And pilots like Matt McDonough have long been our heroes.
The best fighter pilots that I've seen are the ones that can make a quick decision when things are happening very quickly.
But a revolution is underway as manned planes are replaced by drones. Are we approaching a time when movies like The Terminator become our reality?
God, these machines are starting to take over.
A time when machines fly, think, and even kill on their own. Drones are aerial robots that carry visual sensors, navigation systems,
Target acquired.
and sometimes even weapons. They come in all shapes and sizes and go by a variety of names.
The United States Air Force uses the term remotely piloted aircraft. They are also known as unmanned aerial vehicles, or as the media likes to call them, drones.
Already, the Pentagon relies on a family of more than 10,000 drones, usually to spy, but sometimes to kill. Small enough to fit in a soldier's backpack, the 3-foot-long Raven is the most widely used spy drone in the world. The stealthy Sentinel provided crucial intelligence in the raid to kill bin Laden. The killer Predator has flown thousands of missions since 2001. And the giant Global Hawk can stay aloft and spy for up to 35 hours. The military uses drones to support troops on the ground.
20 seconds to
The CIA maintains a covert drone program to find and target individuals. The government claims drones have helped to eliminate up to 70% of Al-Qaeda's top leadership. They've been so effective, the Air Force predicts nearly a third of its attack and fighter planes will be drones within a decade.
Planes can fly longer, they can pull more Gs, they can be more precise when they bomb if a human is not in the cockpit.
We're entering a new era when the supremacy of even the most advanced planes is being challenged as engineers take the pilot out of the cockpit. Holloman Air Force Base in southern New Mexico is the largest Air Force training base for operators of remotely piloted aircraft.
My name is Chad. I'm a captain in the United States Air Force. For security reasons, we've been asked to cover our last names to prevent us from potentially becoming a target of any kind.
Captain Chad has flown remotely piloted aircraft in combat for 3 years, and now teaches pilots to fly the world's most famous killer drone. It's known as the MQ-1, or more commonly, the Predator. The Predator has changed warfare, but it's just a hint of what's to come.
Where we are in terms of unmanned aerial vehicles is about the same place we were with biplanes right after World War I. We are at the very, very early stages of realizing what the potential of unmanned aerial vehicles are.
Unlike complex fighter planes that are engineered for speed and agility, the Predator is built for endurance, so it needs to be light and efficient.
It's the weight of a pickup truck or so, about 2,000 pounds, and it's balanced pretty evenly on the wheels. And with one hand here, I can lift it up and set it back down.
The propeller-driven Predator cruises at only 84 miles per hour, and its 4-cylinder engine burns about 300 times less fuel than a fighter jet.
I can't say exactly how long it can stay up, but it is possible to stay up over 24 hours.
A typical fighter plane can only fly for about 2 hours without refueling, and short angled wings keep it fast and maneuverable. But the Predator hovers 5 miles up, often in uncontested airspace, and its long wings maximize lift.
So as you can see, it's got some flex to it.
With no pilot to protect, a remotely piloted aircraft is much lighter and simpler than a manned plane. On a fighter, the pilot's support equipment and ejection system alone weigh as much as a Predator, which in place of a cockpit has a satellite control system.
It's essentially the brains of the aircraft. It gives us the ability to communicate, control, keep link with the aircraft, and navigate it.
The Predator's sensor ball carries daylight and infrared cameras.
We can easily make out people from 5-6 miles away.
The sensor ball also guides the Predator's 2 Hellfire missiles.
From right here, we fire the laser, and the laser spot hits the ground, and then once we fire the missile, this is the seeker, so this seeker will find that laser spot on the ground and travel to that spot, giving us a very precise capability of employing weapons.
When conducting missions, remote pilots work out of small trailers on the ground. They control the Predator by satellite. This link is what makes it possible to take the human out of the cockpit and fly from virtually anywhere on the planet.
It's tight, about the size of a normal shipping container. And a shift could be anywhere from 2 or 3 hours up to 8 or more hours, depending on the situation.
From trailers like this, pilots of the Predator and its larger cousin, the Reaper, have killed thousands of individuals since 2001. In this clip from Iraq, a Predator pilot sees 2 insurgents firing mortars towards a coalition airbase. He tracks them and finally shoots.
Flash.
The pilot's role is to support troops on the ground and go after threats while trying to minimize civilian casualties. With such high stakes, pilots like Chad need ongoing training. Today, he'll be flying the Reaper in an exercise 50 miles away in the New Mexico desert.
All right, Greg, you're gonna be my HVI. I have Shadow on station. He's gonna be watching you. You're gonna be on
a group of former soldiers working for a company called Rally Point will run an exercise in which Chad will hunt down insurgents in a mock village.
We'll strike you there. Once you die, stay there, drive.
2 will play insurgents, and 1 will be a soldier on the ground communicating with Chad.
About to take off now, so we're going to push the throttle up. And there we're up in the air.
The training mission offers a rare glimpse into the mechanics of how the U.S. uses drones to support troops and prosecute its war on terror. The goal is to make it as realistic as possible so pilots can avoid mistakes when in battle.
They should be checking in here probably in the next 20 minutes or so. It's going to be an MQ-9 Reaper. Check. If they're at 25,000 feet, which they generally work, we're not going to be able to see them at all.
It It takes about half an hour to reach the mock village. Drones like the Reaper can fly on their own using autopilot and preset GPS locations. But the Air Force still keeps human hands on the controls at all times.
People have this concept of either it's a manned plane and the pilot's doing everything, or it's an unmanned plane and it's something out of the Terminator movies. The reality is it's in the middle right now for both the manned and the unmanned planes. Our mind tries to put it in terms of robot or human, but the reality is a mix.
As Chad pilots the Reaper, his sensor operator, Jay, controls the cameras and lasers. On the ground, the fake insurgents enter the village as the Reaper hovers miles above.
Bones 3-4, rally 2-0, stay status.
Rally from Bones 3-4, we have eyes on the target.
Chad gets direction from the soldier, whose handheld receiver and computer allow him to see what Chad sees. Chad's call sign is Bones. The soldier goes by Rally.
And Rally from Bones, we have two packs moving around inside the northwest corner of the compound.
Bones 3-4 from rally 2-0, continued shadow.
The soldier directs Chad and Jay to follow an HVI, or high-value individual, dressed in black.
Rally from Bones 3-4, looks like the one individual wearing black is now getting on the motorcycle and departing the group.
Depending on the situation, the decision to kill comes from an intelligence officer who could be anywhere, a battle commander on the ground, or sometimes the pilot.
Bones 3-4 from rally 2-0, looks like that personnel is stopping.
Bones 3-4, that's a firm, that's what we got up here.
All right, what I'd like to do is go ahead and prosecute 9-line Bravo 1.
Copy. Master armed.
The sensor operator targets using the laser.
This will be a run against the target under our crosshairs. 10 seconds to release. Sensor, you ready?
Copy.
3, 2, 1, rifle. And Bones 3-4, weapons away. 25 seconds time of flight.
The Predator uses laser-guided Hellfire missiles.
The weapons that can be used operate with an air distance of less than 9 feet. You can put a weapon through a window-sized opening with ease.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, splash.
Rally from Bones 09, firm, we have splash, standby for BDA.
And Bones rally looks like good splash.
Copy, lasers off, and Master Armor is now safe.
The efficiency of having a single craft able to find, follow, and eliminate a target like this in real time represents a revolution in warfare.
Let's go back to the middle of the last century. During World War II, it took on the order of months to assemble intelligence from a variety of different sources, whether it be airborne, on the ground, to assimilate that information and then determine what targets might be hit. Then it took hundreds of aircraft and literally thousands of bombs to go out and attack a target using that information that had been developed over a period of months. Today, with the capabilities all wrapped up into one vehicle, the Predators and the Reapers in particular, you can accomplish that find, fix, finish cycle in a matter of single-digit minutes.
Before the Predator, the military had to design separate aircraft for intelligence gathering and attack. Reconnaissance was key, and after World War II, engineers built ultra-sophisticated spy planes. They went faster and higher than ever before to make sure the pilots and the information they gathered didn't fall into enemy hands.
The SR-71 was triple sonic. In other words, it go over Mach 3. Max recorded altitude was 85,200 some feet. And there are several of us that have gone higher than that.
Pilot Tony Bavacqua is one of a select group of men to fly the SR-71, a titanium spy plane built during the height of the Cold War that could take photos of the ground with 12-inch resolution from 90,000 feet. Literally faster than a rifle bullet. Even missiles were too slow to catch it.
I was the first person in the SR-71 get shot at, and it was over Hanoi. You got an airplane that's going 2,300 miles an hour, and it's very, very difficult to even come close. They figure that the missile exploded about a mile below me, and we're in and out of there in no time. Thank God.
The cost of such speed was that the SR-71 needed to be refueled every 2 hours. But there was a slower alternative called the U-2. Bavacqua is one of only 12 pilots to have flown both operationally.
I was very proud of being a U-2 pilot because of what we have done and what we're still doing. It's just a magnificent platform, does excellent reconnaissance.
Still widely used today, nearly 60 years after its introduction, pilot endurance limits U-2 flight time to 12 hours.
It's pretty demanding on their bodies. They have to wear a special high-altitude suit for it, and then it whites them out for a good couple of days. It fatigues them quite a bit to go that high.
Manned spy planes are not only limited by human endurance, they also bring the risk of pilot loss. In 1960, Bavacqua's friend, Francis Gary Powers, was shot down while flying a U-2 over the Soviet Union.
It was a propaganda field day for the Russians.
Powers' cover story was that he was on a meteorological flight.
Frank Powers tried to say it was a weather flight, but there was miles of film. And so it was easy to discern what he was doing.
Khrushchev denounced the United States with every epithet in his vocabulary. He summarily rejected all attempts of the West at reconciliation.
Powers was imprisoned in Russia for more than 2 years, creating a major international incident and clearly demonstrating the need for unmanned spy planes.
It was a development from the pilotless aircraft principle. Guidance was by radio from an accompanying aircraft. After reaching altitude...
As early as World War II, once at altitude, airplanes could be controlled by radio signals after the pilot bailed out. But for decades afterwards, before GPS, drones were limited by primitive autopilots and navigation systems. In the 60s and 70s, drones crashed constantly, including the most advanced unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV, the Aquila drone, that averaged a crash every 20 hours.
It was a small propeller drone that would fly over the battlefield and gather information and beam it back to you. The problem is, back in the 70s, the technology wasn't ready yet. It was a $1 billion program by the time they got just a couple prototypes.
I was frustrated that the U.S. could not make UAVs really work.
Abe Karam is the father of the Predator.
This is one of 2 small UAVs built in my garage between 1980 and 1983. I was borrowing $18,000 a year from family. That's all we had. Everything was built with the lowest possible technology. We were trying to show that if you design the best you can, then you are going to get performance by design.
On his first prototype, the Albatross, Karam placed the engine and propeller in the rear so they wouldn't interfere with the delicate sensors up front. And the inverted tail is also still visible on its famous descendant.
Down-deflected tails are there to protect the prop, so when it tilts back, it's hitting the skids and not hitting the propeller.
An ex-fighter jet engineer, today Karam designs and builds planes at his company in California. In the 70s, when he started working on drones, he realized that without a pilot in the seat, a whole new world of design possibilities opened up. Other unmanned aerial vehicles of the time were still too closely modeled on manned aircraft.
I said, I don't like what I see. I'm not going to take the engine and I'm not taking the prop, I'm not taking the landing gear, I'm not taking the computer.
Karam believed that efficiency and lightness were the key to creating an affordable, high-endurance UAV. So first, he gave his craft long wings to prioritize lift over speed.
When you want to be efficient, you want to be like the soaring birds, very long span wings. The albatross is the best gliding bird, is 20 times more span than the cord. And my albatross, the UAV albatross, was close to that.
Karam built the Albatross from scratch in his garage. He modified a go-kart engine to burn only 1/10 of a gallon of fuel an hour. And Albatross soon evolved into Amber, a 15-foot-long, 28-foot span UAV with 38-hour endurance. Karam relied on seed money from DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Its early investments in artificial intelligence and other technologies led to countless civilian uses and made modern UAVs possible.
In the 1970s and 1980s, with significant DARPA impetus and some DARPA funding, a variety of new technologies emerged, including the Global Positioning System, long-range data links, lightweight computer equipment, and composite materials, as well as satellite communications and digital flight controls. The Albatross, the Amber, were the harbingers of the modern era of UAVs.
We were a total team of 3 people, and we proved a lot of what we wanted to prove. Secretary of the Navy and the head of DARPA, they said, okay, you fly 500 hours, how many are you going to crash? We ended up not crashing any in the 500 hours we did for the military.
Karam's Amber prototype never went into full production. But after a number of incarnations, by the mid-90s, his design became known as the Predator.
Do not handle the missile by the strakes, wings, fins, seeker head, rocket motor, nozzle seal, umbilical connector housing during loading to prevent damage to equipment and or injured personnel.
My UAVs were not meant to be armed. It was really built for the Cold War, when we had the big tactical challenge with so much artillery on their side, so much artillery on our side.
Ready?
With 2 large armies facing off, UAVs could be used for espionage, but not attack. Then, after 9/11, America started targeting individuals.
Now we are fighting non-state enemies, so it starts making sense to arm the UAV, which is not my intention in the beginning.
In October 2001, an armed Predator changed warfare forever.
I was the commander of the air operations against Afghanistan, where we actually used, for the first time, a weapon off the MQ-1 Predator. The advantages were enormous, order of magnitude beyond where remotely piloted vehicles had been just 10 years prior in Desert Storm.
Since this initial strike, drones have proven so effective that the Air Force is now training more remote pilots than manned fighter and bomber pilots combined.
So, play on the scenario.
At Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, instructor Major Jason teaches this new generation of pilots.
Adam 03, loud and clear.
The stakes are high when operational, so they begin on video simulators. He invents practice scenarios, programmed using Xbox video game controllers.
Adam 09 from Viking 01, you're cleared hot. Stuff that we can't do in the real plane, I can do anything here, because the world's whatever I want it to be.
3, 2, 1, rifle.
It's a controlled environment, and we want them to learn here, so that way when they do go operational, you know, they've already made all those mistakes.
Pilot, it doesn't look like I ever turned the laser on, so I don't know where the missile went.
How did that happen? If that would have happened in real world, that'd be a really, really bad day.
Unlike fighter pilots who train for a minimum of 2 years, remote pilots learn to fly their increasingly automated drones in less than 1.
The FAA did a study recently that showed that pilots with real flight experience in manned aircraft are actually worse UAV pilots than those that have no flight experience and really come in off the street. You actually bring in a skill set that you don't need and a set of expectancies that you shouldn't have when you're flying a UAV if you came from a manned aircraft. So the Air Force is taking officers off the street with no flight training and putting them through the program, and they've been very successful.
They come here, they never went to pilot training like I did. They're here for a few months and then they have to go operational, so it happens real fast.
Adam 09, rifle, time of flight, 15 seconds.
And when pilots go operational, despite being half a world away from the action, it all feels very real.
Mike's throwing copy splash.
It's not like a video game at all. There's no reset button, there's no, there's no turning it off.
In real strikes, like this one in Iraq, technology actually allows drone pilots to see more than manned pilots ever have.
Because we have such a long loiter time, there's potential to have eyes on the target that we are going to blow up for hours ahead of time. Then we employ on it, strike the target. And then stick around for another few hours to watch what happens afterwards. You have to stay there and then stay plugged in and stay focused on the destruction that you just caused from your aircraft.
In 2012 alone, the U.S. carried out hundreds of drone strikes across 4 countries. Afghanistan is the only publicly authorized war, while strikes in Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen are covert CIA operations performed without putting American lives